All right, good evening. Let's get this thing going here. Welcome to the applicant, staff, board members, and members of the public. This is the June 4th, 2024 meeting of the City of Bangor's Planning Board. My name is Reese Perkins, Chairman of the board. Other board members that are in attendance this evening are to my left. Tricia Hayes is down on the end, and then alternate member Janet Jonas, Jonathan Boucher, Vice Chairman Ted Brush, and myself. Board members are volunteers from the Bangor community, and we certainly appreciate their help. Member Jonas will be filling in this evening for several other members who are not in attendance.
But only one vote.
That's right. And so we have city staff members over on my right, city engineer John Terrio on the far end, and Brian Scannell, the planning analyst, and assistant solicitor Grace Innes next, and nearest to me is planning officer Anya Collette. We thank those guys as well because they really keep things going. The planning board has multiple roles. The first is we review amendments to the land development code, which typically include either changes to zoning districts or changes to text within the code. Our vote on these items is in the form of a recommendation to the city council as to whether the item ought to pass or ought not to pass. The city council makes the final decision on zoning and land development code changes, typically at the next meeting after this meeting. The first two items on the agenda this evening fall into the category of those types of projects. Second, we serve as the regulatory authority for the land development permits, commonly known as site plan review. Site plans are reviewed to ensure compliance with city code as to parking, driveways, stormwater management, lighting, etc. We also ensure the plan meets the dimensional requirements for the project zoning district. We review larger site plans that trigger the site location development or SLODA for Maine DEP as well under their requirements. Some uses are conditional uses that have specific conditions and requirements we use to review the project. The second two items that we have this evening fall into that category. For more information on the city's codes and standards, you may find the land development code on the city's website. We will call the applicants in the order that they appear on the agenda. When the applicant is asked to present their project or proposal, we ask them or their representative to come up to the podium up here and provide a brief introduction to their application. Once the presentation has been made, the applicant should stay at the podium while we consider any questions from the staff and/or board members. At that time, the applicant may be seated and we will open the floor to public comments. If there are any comments from the public, and there aren't a lot of folks from the public here, but you never know, we'll ask that person to come to the podium, introduce themselves, state where they are from, and indicate if they are for or against the proposal. It is helpful if you present reasons for your support or opposition based upon the city code or the comprehensive plan, as these are the primary documents which we use as a board to make decisions on these projects. We ask that the comments be brief and to the point. If comments run long, and I don't really expect them to this evening, but if they do, we may limit them to 3 minutes in order to enable everyone to speak. If someone is on Zoom and they would like to speak into the meeting, they need to use the raise hand function to let us know that they would like to speak, and we can bring them into the meeting. All comments and discussions should remain respectful and considerate of others. Once comments from the public are completed, we will close that item to public comments. The board will then deliberate on the proposal using the standards as applicable and act on the proposal. The board may approve or deny the project or may otherwise work with the applicant if there are compliance issues that could be addressed with modifications to the plan. The board may continue the application to a future meeting to allow the applicant to modify the plan or for any other reasonable cause. If someone disagrees with the decision of the board regarding a site development project, they have the right to appeal the decision to the Superior Court of Maine. Once a project you are interested in has been reviewed, feel free to leave the meeting. You do not have to stay, but please be respectfully quiet so that we are not disturbed as we continue to review other projects. All land development projects, once approved by the board, must apply for construction permits with the code office. All approved projects need to be started within 1 year of our decision and completed within 2 years. Extensions for good cause may be granted through the code office. We thank all the applicants for taking the time to present their project for our review. This project is important for the city's development and the direction of our future. All that being said, I'll get right to the agenda this evening. The first item on the agenda is to amend the land development code by increasing height limits in the multifamily and service district and urban service district for rooftop solar arrays and rooftop mechanical equipment. I believe this is a staff presentation. Anya?
Yes, it is. So for the public, anyone who's not familiar with this change, basically this would increase the maximum height for buildings in the multifamily and service and urban service districts to 60 feet where the lot is on a major or minor arterial street. So those include streets like Broadway, Union Street, things like that. However, if a lot is adjacent to URD1, URD2, or LDR, the buildings would have to kind of be staggered in height. So it would start out at likely a height of 20 feet and then it would increase further in towards the interior of the lot. This ordinance also allows rooftop mechanical equipment and rooftop solar arrays to extend beyond the maximum district height by a certain distance. For rooftop mechanical equipment, that would be 10 feet. And for rooftop solar arrays, it varies depending on whether it's in a residential or commercial zone, but generally between 3 to 5 feet. And we did base that on feedback from code enforcement as well as examples from other municipalities. And so that pretty much covers it. So.
Yes, thank you. Board members, any questions? I mean, we've seen this a couple of times and reviewed it a couple of times. Any questions for Officer Collette? Member Brush?
Yes, the ordinance mentions major and minor arterial streets, I'm sorry. Where is that defined?
They're defined in the definition section of the land development code.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so it's,
Can you just throw some examples at us so that
Yep.
Brush has an idea?
So Broadway, like I mentioned, State Street, Stillwater, Union Street, those are just a few examples.
those are the major ones. What would be a minor one?
I think Union Street actually might count as a minor arterial, and I think Mountain Hope Avenue is a minor arterial.
Griffith Road?
I'm not sure if Griffin is one.
Yeah,
I could be
anyway.
wrong, but yeah.
Okay.
Chair, actually Union Street is a major and 14th Street is a minor. There was a map in our packet last month that kind of illustrated those.
Thank
That's
you.
my neighborhood, so that's why.
You should have memorized, yeah.
That's my neighborhood.
Thank you.
Thank you, Member Jonas. Any other board member questions? Public comment. Do we have any public questions or comments on this item before we move forward? Seeing none, I will close this to public comment. Any further review or comments from the board or discussion before we go to a motion? Seeing none, I would love to have a motion on this proposal. Typically, it's an ought to pass.
Chair,
Member Boucher?
I move that we ought to pass the amendment of the land development code to increase the height allowances in the multifamily and service district and urban service district, and for rooftop solar arrays and rooftop mechanical equipment.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Member Brush, thank you. I'm gonna do a roll call vote on this. Member Boucher?
Yes.
Member Brush?
Yes.
Member Hayes?
Yes.
Member Jonas?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. So that item is unanimously approved. And it will line up in the next city council meeting for a final vote. Item 2 is to amend the land development code by changing a parcel of land located at 107 Thomas Hill Road. This is map lot 021-097 from urban residence 1 district to urban residence 2 district. Said area of land contains approximately 0.21 acres. The applicant owner is Jerry and Brenda West. Before we get to the applicant presentation, Member Boucher?
Yeah, I do want to talk to the board about if I should, if you'd like to have me recuse myself. I was under contract to purchase this property. I'm no longer currently under contract to purchase this property. It was discovered in the process of it, the zoning issue, and the assessor deemed it that we couldn't proceed, and we weren't able to move forward with the purchase. And so I wanted to see if you deem that to be a conflict. I would think that would probably look funny to anybody looking at this, who was with scrutiny. So I wouldn't be offended if you thought that I should recuse myself. Is how I see this. Do you guys have any questions or need any additional background?
Sure, thank you. By the way, I appreciate you being honest. So my question, I guess, would be, first off, should the zone change, would you have new interest in the project? Or renewed interest?
I'd have to talk with my wife. I didn't realize it was coming to the board so soon. I thought it was gonna be a series of months, and that's what derailed our purchase and our loan would, anyway, this is a lot of information about me. The loan discussion was gonna go past the due date, and there was a number of issues, and so we figured we would withdraw our offer at that point. I'll have to talk with her, but no, I talked with her briefly about it because I was, but I didn't know about this until when I picked up the packet on Friday that they were bringing this forward, and so we haven't had a very good conversation about this yet. So my answer is probably not.
But you can't say for sure.
I can't speak for her. I would assume no.
Okay, thank you. Any other board members with questions on this? Assistant Solicitor Innes, would you like to speak on this?
Sure. So the conflict of interest ordinance is what this would fall under. It mentions only financial or special interests, and it defines financial interests as a direct or indirect interest having monetary or pecuniary value, including but not limited to ownership of shares of stock. And then a special interest is a direct or indirect interest having value peculiar to a certain individual or group, whether economic or otherwise, which value may accrue to such individual as a result of the passage or denial of any order. So it also has to be an interest that's not shared by the general public. So hopefully that's a little helpful in directing you. It's pretty narrow, the conflict stuff is. It's only if you have a financial or special interest. So if anybody has any questions, I'm here and I have the ordinance in front of me.
Great, thank you. Let's have a discussion on this, board members. I tend, I'll tell you how I feel. I'm concerned, as Member Boucher has expressed, that it would certainly be uncomfortable for us and appear strange, particularly if you were to decide to pursue the property after this zone change had happened, us being aware of it as we are and so forth. It's hard to say whether you have exactly at this point, any kind of a monetary interest in it. But it certainly seems a little bit off the tracks of how we normally do things. Any other thoughts on that? Because I'm a little torn here because I'm assuming you guys are the folks, the Wests.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm just assuming that, but appreciate you saying so. One of the problems we have here this evening is we lack our normal number of members, as you may have perceived already. And if Member Boucher is recused, we cannot act on your item this evening. And I hate to do that to you because I'm sure you're looking forward to get this taken care of one way or the other. Nonetheless, the rules are the rules. And if he doesn't vote, there's not enough of us here to vote as a quorum and make this happen. So I'm a little torn on that because I worry about your situation, but I still kind of feel like we should do things the right way always. And so that's where I'm at. And
If I may.
if you would like to, I'm happy to have you come on up. Please come on up and introduce yourself, and you may speak about this. Ryan, if you would just keep it to the recusal issue at this moment, if you would.
Very short. We were in the process before we applied for the process before he made the offer and so forth, so whatever you decide is fine with us. We would like to resolve the issue as
Soon
quickly
as
as possible naturally, so.
I started a year ago with emails,
Okay,
and so to get it to this point,
sure. Yep.
it's just, whatever you decide is fine with us,
Yep.
but we had started quite a while ago.
Yep. Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. Board members, any other comments or thoughts on this?
My sense is that there is a special interest, even though it's maybe past, it still is there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not totally neutral.
Mm-hmm.
Chair, I agree with you about, it would be very nice to make it expeditious for the applicants, but I also agree that we need to be as cautious as we can.
Yep.
And err on the side of
Correct procedure.
correct procedure,
Yep.
yes, sir.
Thank you. Member Hayes, any comments or?
Yeah, no, I agree. It's a tough situation
Yep.
because we have short
Okay.
board tonight.
If no one else has any other comments, I would like a motion on the recusal of Member Boucher. I need a motion. Yes.
I move that Member Boucher be recused from the item, I don't know how to phrase it, the zone change of 107 Thomas Hill Road due to a personal interest in the property.
Okay, thank you. That's Member Brush that made that motion. Can I have a second on that?
Second.
Member Jonas, thank you. I will do a roll call vote. We would skip Member Boucher on this roll call vote, I believe, so Member Brush,
Yes.
Member Hayes,
Yes,
Member Jonas,
Yes,
and the chair votes yes. So, Member Boucher, you're recused. If you would step out of the room for just a second
Yeah.
while we kind of take care of this item, and then we'll get you back in.
Sorry to slow down the process.
No problem.
And so I think the next order of business would be a motion to postpone, and I would assume we would get it at the next meeting.
Are they able to do a motion if they don't have a quorum for the item?
I think we do, right?
I just wanted to double
Yeah,
check.
I thought so too. So I'd look for a motion to postpone this project. Member Brush?
I move that we postpone the item on the agenda of the zone change of 107 Thomas Hill Road, map lot 21-97, from urban residence 1 to urban residence 2,
To the next
to
meeting.
the next, shall I say the next meeting or a future meeting?
We can do the next meeting,
But
right?
you'd need to say a certain date, so.
To the next meeting.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
second.
Member Hayes, thank you. I would go with raise of hands on this, would be fine. Those in favor? None opposed? So it passes that we postpone this. Again, I apologize to you guys. I really understand that this is probably a pain in the neck for you, but we need to do things right. And I can't help that we've got some missing folks. Some of it is, it's that time of year. So we will move this off to the next meeting. Thank you for coming. You do not have to stay. All right, so that's the second item on the agenda. Could somebody grab member, oh, you did. Thank you, Brian.
very good stuff.
Thank you. So the next item on the agenda is under land development permits. And this is an application for a change to an internal lot line of an existing planned group development at a property located at 931 Union Street. Map lots R24-005-A and R24-006. And these are in the shopping and personal service district and general commercial and service district. The applicant and the owner is Northern Light Health. I'll let you get set up, but before you do, we've got to attend to a couple of things here. The staff has indicated that the completeness of this application and that it is ready for board review. Fees are documented and paid, the applicant's standing is confirmed. Does the board have any concerns with any of those issues? And if not, are there any concerns on conflict of interest?
Chair,
Member
would you
Boucher?
like me to raise we had an informal discussion with with the assistant solicitor by email, because I'm a former employee of Northern Light, and my wife is a former employee of Northern Light, but we're not currently employed there. I am employed by a company called Optum, which is part of United Health, which one of their customers is Northern Light, and I work vicariously for Northern Light is one of the customers of Optum, and so just wanted to put that out there for awareness in case there was any concerns that I need to recuse in this case as well. That was it.
Thank you.
Yeah, good, thanks.
Assistant Solicitor Innes, you've kind of given us what you think on these sorts of things in general already. Do you want to add anything to this, or?
I don't have anything to add. If you guys want the definitions again, I have them. But yeah, we kind of talked about it, so.
Thank you. That's fine. Just want to make sure.
Yeah.
So let's do the issue of recusal first. Any board members have any comments on this one? Other than he's very troublesome to us this evening. There's nothing we can do about it. He's all we've got.
You go to the airport.
That's right.
I don't have any flights lately.
You park it.
I mean, so again, I'll tell you, and I don't want to push anyone anyway, but I feel like being second removed from being an employee does not concern me. I don't really have trouble with this one. I don't think he's telling us he's feeling any pressure or persistence or concern with making a clear decision on this project. Unbiased, shall I say?
I don't see any personal attachment I have to this project, or personal benefit I would make as part of, I'm not paid by Northern Light.
Right.
I'm not paid any sort of, what's the word for it? I can't think of the term, when you're,
Like a commission.
there's no incentive money
Right.
attached to this in any way.
Right.
I'm not affiliated to, I think it's the pharmacy that they're talking about, I'm not affiliated to that effort in any way.
Okay,
So-
thank you. And I also feel like, when you start doing the second step removed and third step removed, you'd find almost any one of us is related to some project around here almost every week, and I don't think we want to go down that road. So that's where I stand on this one. But I'm happy to hear how anyone else feels about this.
I agree, he's one step removed from, he's no longer employed there, so.
I also agree that what's happening with this particular application is vastly different than the zoning change in order to do something with a property that will be used for making money. I mean, yes, I understand this is a money-making part, but Josh is involved, Jonathan. Member Boucher's position is completely different in this one. I agree with you.
Thank you. Member Brush, any thoughts?
Yeah, the nature of this proposal is so remote from,
What he's
financial and technical issues of his employment. I don't see any opportunity for conflict.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate your thoughts on that. Would anyone like to provide me with a motion on recusal of Member Boucher from this project? Member Jonas?
Oh, me?
Yes?
I move that Member Boucher had no conflict of interest with this particular proposal.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Member Brush? A roll call vote on that, not including Member Boucher, of course. Member Brush?
Yes.
Member Hayes?
Yes.
Member Jonas?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. So you are welcome to stay for this project, Member
Thank you.
And so we will go from there. Now, before we get to the application, if you look at your packets, board members. Under procedural background on this project, there are 3 highlighted items there, which are really what we just previously spoke about as far as the completeness of the application. So I would like a motion on the completeness of this application, and it can be, in essence, read right from that procedural background. Member Brush?
I move that the board finds the application was deemed complete on June 4th. The applicant paid all applicable fees per Exhibit 3, and the proposed project is a modification of a planned group development.
Excellent, thank you. Do I have a second? Member Boucher is a second, and a roll call vote on the application completeness. Member Boucher?
Yes.
Member Brush?
Yes.
Member Hayes?
Yes.
Member Jonas?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes, so we approve the completeness of the application. All that being said, the next important thing, which involves you or your client, I assume in this case, is that because city code says that if we have less than 7 board members in attendance at a meeting, which is the situation tonight, you actually have the option to postpone, if you would like to another meeting. If for some reason we seem scary to you tonight, you think there might be 7 other more friendly faces at another meeting, you can choose that.
Well, there are places that I go to where the answer would be yes, but this is not one.
Fair enough. So you would like to proceed as
Yes,
things are
please.
going tonight, okay, thank you. So we have that out of the way. Does the staff have any comments before we
No, no
move on? Then would you please just sort of give us, a roundabout view of what we have going on here this evening with that project?
Well, my name's Andy Johnston. I'm Principal and Civil Engineer with Atlantic Resource Consultants, and we're happy to be here representing Northern Light in what is a bit of an unusual project, probably for us and certainly for some of the projects you see, in that there's no development actually proposed as part of this project. This is an application which essentially is a lot line readjustment in order for them to adjust the parcel lines in here and potentially then sell off one piece of this property while retaining the rest of it. So I'll just run through it very quickly because it is fairly simple. There are actually 2 parcels, and that's why it's a lot line adjustment. There are 2 parcels now. This is lot 5A, which contains what's known as the Brown Building, which has the ambulance garage in it. It contains parking for this building and what we call the northern parking lot here, which is really associated with the EMC Mall building. And then lot 6, which is the big mall and the remainder of the property. And the existing dividing line is that diagonal line that runs down there. And this building has been occupied by Northern Light since it was built, but because of the staff reassignments and the new building in Brewer, this is really becoming surplus to requirements. So essentially what they want to do is carve off a smaller parcel than exists now, so that can be a standalone lot with its own parking, and then potentially that could be put up for sale to a third party. And the remainder up here would become part of this, be contiguous with lot 6. So just to flip it over, I'll show you where the proposed lot line is, and it's really the red box. The shaded area is one of the easements that go along with this. So one of the things that we've done here, and you'll see it's kind of a peculiar shape, but it's actually to make it cleaner from an easement perspective, in that all the major stormwater BMPs and all the major utility lines remain on the lot that's going to be retained by EMHS and Northern Light here. It relieves some of the maintenance burden on the smaller parcel, and it just makes it a lot cleaner from easements going backwards and forwards. The shaded area is a flip of what is currently the case, because currently the main access of the light is actually on parcel 5A, so lot 6 has an easement over that to get to the light, and all we're doing, because the lot line's flipping that easement, so now it becomes an easement to 5A over lot 6 to get to the light. There's a whole host of other easements which the legal department and Northern Light worked on. We've run those by staff. Been a fairly complicated process, but we thank staff for their guidance on the way through that. So that's all kind of tied together and they're all shown on the final survey plan, which is a little more difficult to read than these, which is why I'm showing you these. So that's really it. In a nutshell, it's a lot line readjustment to carve out this parcel. Both parcels still meet the bulk and space standards, and it was originally approved as a planned group development. It's going to continue to be a planned group development, which gives that flexibility between, or buffers between the two lot lines, which is very appreciated on the lot like this. So that's about it from me, and I won't go any further into the weeds, but I'll answer any questions you have.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you, Andy. So do the board members have any questions of the applicant's representative?
I have a question. Did you discuss the ratio of impermeable with city staff, and was there anything
Yes,
you can point us
and
to?
actually, so the ratios meet on both lots and on the combined lot. And I think the combined lot really in a planned group development is really the driving force, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. And nothing's changing on that front, so there's nothing actually getting built or knocked down or moved. It's just the lot line that's moving.
The planned group development, all the lots together are considered one lot, and so they kind of have some leeway with the impervious surface ratio and things like that.
But if this property gets owned by another,
It's,
the way that they're cut it up, it's not gonna push us over the ratio requirements for the
Well-
impermeable.
no, because it's part of the planned group development, that's kind of like why it's included in that.
Thanks.
So I
Member Jonas?
have just a question. I know there was some discussion about the stormwater and how that easement was, or how all those arrangements were gonna be made. And you, when you pointed that out, you mentioned that it was all kind of in the north, I guess that's northwest? Yeah, directly north, okay. I have noticed that there's a tremendous amount of damage in the parking lot that's just occurred in one of the most recent storms, but it's kind of on the southern side. Is that a completely separate stormwater system?
It kind of is, so, so that gets us the weeds a little bit.
I'm sorry, I just noticed, I just happened to notice it when I was there
I'll
today.
try and explain it, I'll try and explain it quickly. So basically, the whole of this portion, the main building in this parking lot, was built a long time ago.
Right. I
Before
remember the
stormwater
service
law,
merchandise.
way before stormwater law, before site location. So this has a stormwater system that goes down, there's a basin here, there are a number of catch basins here, and it drains into the street. This was built after site law, but before stormwater law. So this didn't actually have to meet current stormwater standards. So this essentially drains off to the sides and down into this basin and into the street. This portion up here was developed after stormwater law. So this is covered by a DEP stormwater permit, which has what you'd see commonly now on the plan, an under-drain soil filter, a bioretention cell, so what I would call proper best management practices now. And they drain in turn, they still drain down here or off down to this side, but these are regulated stormwater features. The other ones are only regulated by the city and not covered by DEP. That may or may not answer your question. They did do last year, I know city staff helped to encourage them, let's put it that way, to do some overdue maintenance down here and on these. So they did spend some time and some effort in the last year trying to address those issues. And certainly if there are other issues coming up, drop me a line, I'll drop them a line, we'll get them sorted
Yeah,
out.
she can't do that.
Sorry, thanks.
But thank you.
Drop staff a line,
Does that-
staff drop me a line.
Does that answer the question?
Yes, thank you.
More or less?
More or less, yeah.
Yeah. John, do you want to have any comment on that or not?
Oh, no,
trying to
I
push
mean,
it.
that was taken care of by Rich
Okay.
May, I imagine.
Okay,
So,
yeah, thank
No,
you.
we're good.
Okay. Any other questions, board members of the applicants? Okay. I think you're all set unless we will take public comments, and if anyone needs to bring something up that you need to address, then we'll get you back up.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Public comments? See no one on Zoom. Okay, so I'm gonna close public comments almost as quick as I open them up. And, so this is one of those board members where we need to go to the standards. Before we go to the standards and run through those, do board members have any other issues they would like to bring up before the votes? No, okay. So, we go to the packet and, I would look for a motion. We are, in at this point in the packet, part one, the project meets requirements of 165, 114 land development standards. Item one, can I get a motion on item one? Member Brush?
I move the board finds that based on Exhibit 2 and 13, the applicant satisfied Land Development Code, Section 165-114B's requirement that the proposed parking and loading layout are arranged in a reasonable and safe configuration.
Thank you. Do I have a second on that? Member Hayes, thank you. A roll call vote. Member Boucher?
Yes.
Member Brush?
Yes.
Member Hayes?
Yes.
Member Jonas?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Item one is approved unanimously. Item two, can I get a motion on item two? Member Boucher?
Chair, I move that the board finds that based on Exhibits 2 and 13, the applicant satisfied Land Development Code subsection 165-114 C's requirement that all proposed access drives from the site to any public right-of-way are reasonably necessary and safe.
Thank you. Do I have a second on that? Member Jonas, thank you. Roll call vote. Member Boucher?
Yes.
Member Brush?
Yes.
Member Hayes?
Yes.
Member Jonas?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes, unanimous on item two. Item three, can I have a motion on item three? Member Jonas?
I move the board finds that based on Exhibits 2, 11, and 12, the applicant satisfied Land Development Code subsection 165-114D's requirement that stormwater runoff from the proposed development will not have an unreasonable adverse effect on abutting or downstream properties or protected resources, and that all downstream channels or municipal stormwater collection systems have adequate capacity to carry the flow without significant negative effects.
Thank you. Do I have a second on that? Member Hayes? Thank you. Roll call vote. Member Boucher?
Yes.
Member Brush?
Yes.
Member Hayes?
Yes.
Member Jonas?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes, unanimous on item three. Now going to part two, the project meets requirements of 165-69, plan group development. I would look for a motion on that one item that's there. Member Brush?
I move the board finds that based on Exhibits 2, 11, and 17, and based on the findings made in Part 1, the applicant satisfied the requirements of Section 165-69 for planned group developments.
Thank you. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
Member Hayes? Thank you. Roll call vote. Member Boucher?
Yes.
Member Brush?
Yes.
Member Hayes?
Yes.
Member Jonas?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes, unanimous on all items. Could I have a motion on the decision? Member Hayes?
I move that the board finds that the project meets the requirements for a land development permit for modification of a planned group development, and therefore the board grants the land development permit for the proposed project.
Excellent, thank you. Do I have a second? Member Jonas is a second, and a roll call vote on that. Member Boucher?
Yes.
Member Brush?
Yes.
Member Hayes?
Yes.
Member Jonas?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. You have a permit, you're all set there. And you would need to see code office next, correct? Well, we need to sign some things this evening, right?
You can sign it now if you wanted to go ahead and take it, or we can give it to you tomorrow.
That's fine. I'll probably have Shep come by and pick it up.
Okay,
That'd be great. Thank you.
all right.
Thank you, appreciate your coming. Okay, so that takes care of the first item on the land development part of the meeting. The second item is the application for a site development plan, a major slaughter modification for the proposed construction of an 805 square foot, 404,200 square, 805 space, 404,200 square foot parking lot at property located at 287 Godfrey Boulevard, map lot 001, in the Airport Development District. The applicant and the owner is Bangor International Airport. The staff has indicated the completeness of this application and it is ready for board review. Fees are documented and transferred because this is an intercity project. The applicant's standing is obviously confirmed. The board members have any concerns with the application completeness? Seeing none, Any concerns with conflicts of interest on this project? Seeing none, thank goodness. So I would be interested in a motion on procedural background, which would be the standards for the second project, 287 Godfrey Boulevard project. They're in your packet. And again, you read them just as they are there. If anyone would like to provide a motion on that, we can move forward. Member Hayes.
I move that the application was deemed complete on June 4th, 2024. The applicant paid all applicable fees, Exhibit 17. The proposed project is a major site development and a major SLOTA modification.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Member Jonas, thank you. And a roll call vote on application completeness. Member Boucher?
Yes.
Member Brush?
Yes.
Member Hayes?
Yes.
Member Jonas?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes, unanimous on the application completeness. Mr. Bragg, if you want to come up. So the applicant's representative is at the podium. And again, before you introduce yourself, as you've heard already this evening, given the situation with the board members that are here this evening, you have the option to postpone your application if you'd like to another time.
I'll take my chances.
Okay, appreciate that. So with introductions, if you would, and just carry on.
Randy Bragg from Carpenter Associates. I'll be representing the airport this evening. They are proposing 805 space parking lot. This parking lot will be located on map 1, lot 1 in the city of Bangor. It's a small piece of a larger portion of land that the airport operates. This parking lot is located between Godfrey Boulevard and the canals that you see that drain a lot of the airport. It's below the cul-de-sac or the roundabout, if you will, and is at the northern end of what we would call long-term parking currently. So currently, just to give a little reference, the two terminals are here, domestic, international. This is Godfrey Boulevard as you enter the airport. Drop off and pick up your bags or your kids, loop around and you can exit. On the way out, you will have the option to enter into this large parking lot. It will be serviced by the shuttle bus, but it does have two walkways, one down through the center connecting what's there currently, and another one around the perimeter of the exiting loop road, if you will. So that's roughly where the parking lot is. It's about 10 acres. The impervious area is about 6.5 acres. The entire edge of the parking lot is being collected and treated with proper under-drain soil filters. 100% of the impervious is captured and treated properly. The intent was to maintain the 15% green space for the parking lot that's required for this large parking lot. And you'll notice every other parking lot is a raised planted island. Each end island is also planted. So there are 175 trees, 600 and something bushes, and also we're required to have street trees along Godfrey Boulevard, 52 of those. This is a lighted parking lot. It will be controlled, probably be dimmed in the evening, but have sensors for security. This will be serviced by the shuttle bus, as I mentioned, so there will be 4 stations, small buildings, located throughout for you to hang out if it's raining or something before you get picked up. It's a pretty straightforward project, it's just a large project. So I will leave it at that and answer any technical questions you might have.
Thank you, Randy. Before we get into questions, could you just mention, I think there's some change to the existing toll plaza?
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, there is proposed a small addition to the toll plaza that when you exit currently, there's a small building there now. We are adding up to 500 square feet, primarily for a small office and some storage. No vehicle storage or anything like that, just, I'm told that they have to store those tickets for 3 years, so they need a little space to put those.
Thank you very much. Okay, so hang up here. Staff comments on this one? None? Okay, thank you. Board members, questions for the applicant? I'll go since someone's hesitating, shy, yeah. Just general observations of what I've seen from the long-term parking that's further out. There are times when it is very busy and times when it's not used at all. I almost want to call it seasonal. And I think it's somewhat related to the seasons and kids getting out of school, vacations, all that sort of thing. And I'm curious about if there was any consideration whether this would be the same kind of operation, or if you have any information or thoughts on it.
When we started looking at this for the airport, we actually studied that area, what we call the shuttle lot as well. We also looked at a spot near Niles now, the city owns that and leases it to Niles. So we did study 3 areas to handle the current need and the future growth. There are still, the airport felt that this is much better served, much closer, has options for walking if you need to, and a little easier for the shuttle bus to maintain. And if they're not here, I can say until they get kind of their real act together at the shuttle lot, they still plan to improve that as well. So this is really the immediate need. There is plans to fix the shuttle lot as well. But again, that shuttle lot is about 12.5 acres on 2 different parcels. And it's obviously laid out like an old runway, so it has some expensive construction to do there as well. This one is part of the master plan. This was always part of the master plan to develop this. And it fits very nicely into that space, and it's a good extension of what's there now, so.
Okay, thank you.
There-
Yeah, before you go further, by the way, I think this was, as far as I can see, a very thorough and complete proposal, and I love the sidewalks.
Well, you can thank a lot of those specialties for staff.
Yes, so there you go.
They were
Thank you,
very
yes.
clear to keep us online and that stuff.
There's a lot of give and take there.
I read some of those emails, I realize. The reason for my question that I asked you is I sort of feel like, we're wasting lights and energy and electricity and all that if we have a huge empty parking lot, 3/4 of the year or 1/3 of the year or whatever it is, because there are no cars in that parking lot sometimes.
Yeah.
And I heard what you mentioned about the lights, have some dimming in the evening and
Sure.
whatnot. And I don't know if it even has been part of the realm of your responsibility to think about the operation of those lights, but my feeling is if the parking lot is gonna be empty sometimes of the year, it would be nice to either shut those lights off or dim them down when they're
Well,
not necessary.
it just so happens concurrently, we're putting together construction drawings for bidding, so I'll let you know that there is control on those lightings to be able to dim them, if not turn them off.
Okay.
They will obviously come on when people go into the lot. We don't know all the details yet, but obviously we're looking at energy savings there. I think all of the lights in this new parking lot can fit on 320 amp circuits nowadays, so they're very, very efficient
Controllable too.
and controllable.
Yeah, excellent, thank you.
So this, I might have not mentioned, but this parking lot has 2 sidewalks down both sides completely. This one kind of parallels Godfrey Boulevard, so it could be easily extended through the roundabout and up to Union Street.
Yes.
And that's my question. It's a
Okay.
good
There you go.
segue. And it's
Yeah.
probably more a staff question than it is for you, but I have observed many times people walking along that berm, either walking to the bus station, walking, whatever, and
Last
I
time
was
went
wondering
there,
if there's
somebody
any
told me to.
plan to extend that sidewalk all the way to Union Street so that we can connect to the bus services, both the city connector and the covered.
I can speak for the airport. I mean, I think they ultimately, once they keep developing that way, want to go that way too. But again, probably this project won't pay for that piece.
I guess my question more, is that actually a responsibility of the airport, or would it be more of a city thing to take it to and around the roundabout?
The airport,
Potentially,
the
yeah,
city
right.
department.
I mean, it's all the city, right?
Yeah, it's
So-
kind of the same.
I think now that, I mean, they are providing quite a long length of sidewalk
Right.
along there, so, you know, it wouldn't be, I don't wanna, it would be put on the list to provide sidewalk at some point to Union Street. I mean, we've got a long priority list of places we're putting on sidewalk, and now this makes a
Understand.
sidewalk along there more feasible, where they're doing, you know, a good portion of it, so.
It is, I've seen enough people there that it's kind of a concern for me.
Yeah.
Even though it's got a nice wide berm.
Okay, that's you're the first I've heard of it, sidewalk,
Oh, sorry.
sidewalk to the airport. So I'm not saying that's a bad thing, I'm saying, you know, squeaky wheel kind of gets the
Yeah,
grease a little bit in that, or it
And-
gets you to open your eyes and say, okay, how many, you know, I don't fly very often, so I don't drive down this road very often, see how many pedestrians are walking down there, and I haven't had any calls, you know, hey, we need a sidewalk to the airport, but now that this is here and there's gonna be some walking traffic, you know, it's gonna, I suspect the calls will increase.
I think the planning staff
Even if
is
it's
also
just for
tired
Member
of
Jonas.
talking about connecting our transportation systems in
Yeah.
Bangor. That's a big, real key.
I got Anya here too, that's always.
That's right. Thank you, City Engineer Terrio, appreciate that. Member Brush?
Yeah, I understand that the entrance is, traffic circulates through the airport to enter the parking lot?
Yeah, so the only way into this parking lot, this long-term parking lot that will be served by the shuttle bus, is to make your way down to the terminal and around the loop and into the entrance. The entrance is located here. This is a one-way street now. So the only way into this is the entire loop.
Is that gonna have any impact on the traffic flow in the airport? or-
I don't think it's gonna have any more than what we would do as people did their business and then got driven out to the shuttle lot, because most of the folks don't know to go there first, and unless they're a frequent flyer. So, we don't think that's gonna have a major impact on the traffic in that area. They may clean up the drop-off, pickup at the terminals. Sometimes you'll see a whole row of cars and people starting to double park there to get their stuff out, so that's more of a police enforcement thing. So, this is a very wide road too, so it's a double lane. And it will remain double lane even though we're gonna put a sidewalk in. So there's plenty of width there to do a lot of traffic.
Thank you.
I was just gonna say, you know, in kind of in response to that, from what I've seen and experienced, the existing long-term parking has no real sidewalk around the outside, and I've seen what people do sometimes is just kind of cut through where the rental cars are there and try and kind of fight
Some
the
folks
traffic.
do it over here, yeah.
Fight the traffic on foot. And having that sidewalk there, I think is actually gonna clean some things up as far as pedestrians go anyway. Okay.
So I was going to mention too, to get out of this parking lot, you only have one option, is a right out only. So that gives you the option to make the loop again, if you forgot something, or you can head out to Union Street. So,
Yeah.
ticket machines at both gates, of course.
Thank you. Any other board member questions? No? Okay. Let's go to public comments. You can relax for right now, Randy, and we'll see what we get for public comments. I see none on Zoom, none in the room, so I'm gonna close the public comments for this item. And before going to the motions on the standards, do board members have any other issues? I can't think not, because we just asked the question. So let's go to the standards. There's a number of them there. And under applicable provisions and findings, part 1, the project meets requirements of Articles 2 through 12. If I could have a motion on item 1. Member Brush?
I move the board finds that based on Exhibits 2 and 4, the applicant satisfied Land Development Code Section 165-33's requirements regarding filling, grading, and earth moving activities, and Section 165-33-1's requirements regarding erosion and sediment control best practices.
Thank you. Do I have a second on that? Member Boucher? Appreciate it. And a roll call vote. Member Boucher?
Yes.
Member Brush?
Yes.
Member Hayes?
Yes.
Member Jonas?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes, unanimous on item 1. A motion on item 2? Member Boucher?
Chair, I move that the board finds that based on Exhibit 2, the applicant satisfied Land Development Code Section 165-68's requirements regarding having a minimum street frontage no less than 50 feet.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Member Brush? Thank you. A roll call vote on item 2. Member Boucher?
Yes.
Member Brush?
Yes.
Member Hayes?
Yes.
Member Jonas?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes, unanimous on item 2. Item 3, do I have a motion on item 3? Member Jonas?
Chair, I move the board finds that based on Exhibits 2, 4, 7, and 21, the applicant satisfied Land Development Code Section 165-73's requirements for parking setbacks and screening, and Section 165-74's requirements for parking design, construction, and maintenance.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Member Brush, thank you. And a roll call vote. Member Boucher?
Yes.
Member Brush?
Yes.
Member Hayes?
Yes.
Member Jonas?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes, unanimous on item 3. A motion on item 4. Member Hayes?
I move that the board finds that based on Exhibit 2, the applicant satisfied the Land Development Code Section 165-79 requiring provision of necessary utilities.
Thank you. A second on that one? Member
Second.
Brush? And a roll call vote. We're on item number 4. Member Boucher?
Yes.
Member Brush?
Yes.
Member Hayes?
Yes.
Member Jonas?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes, unanimous on item 4. Motion on item 5? Member Brush?
I move the board finds that based on Exhibits 2 and 9, the applicant satisfied the Land Development Code Section 165-81 requiring appropriate lighting in accordance with regulations on intensity, direction, and height.
Thank you. Do I have a second on this one? Member Boucher. And a roll call vote. Member Boucher?
Yes.
Member Brush?
Yes.
Member Hayes?
Yes.
Member Jonas?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes, unanimous on item 5. Motion on item 6?
Chair.
Member Boucher?
I move the board finds that based on Exhibits 2 and 24, the applicant satisfied the Land Development Code, Section 165-82, requiring adequate fire protection.
Thank you. Second by Member Jonas. Thank you. Roll call vote. Member Boucher?
Yes.
Member Brush?
Yes.
Member Hayes?
Yes.
Member Jonas?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes, unanimous on item 6. Motion on item 7. Member Jonas?
Chair, I move the board finds that based on Exhibits 2, 4, and 23, the applicant satisfied the Land Development Code Section 165-83 requiring adequate electrical service.
Thank you. And a second. Member Hayes? Thank you. And a roll call vote. Member Boucher?
Yes.
Member Brush?
Yes.
Member Hayes?
Yes.
Member Jonas?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes, unanimous on item 7. Motion on item 8. Member Hayes?
I move that the board finds that based on Exhibits 2, 10, 11, and 22, the applicant satisfied the Land Development Code Section 165-84 requiring adequate provisions for surface water and storm drainage.
Thank you. And a second on that one?
Second.
Member Brush? Thank you. Roll call vote. Member Boucher?
Yes.
Member Brush?
Yes.
Member Hayes?
Yes.
Member Jonas?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes, unanimous on all items on part 1. Part 2, the project meets district site development standards under Article 19. Motion on this one, there's only one thing there. Member Brush?
I move the board finds that based on Exhibits 2 and 4, the applicant satisfied Section 165-135 of the Land Development Code regarding impervious surface ratio and buffer yards.
Thank you. Do I have a second on that one? Member Boucher? Thank you. Roll call vote. Member Boucher?
Yes.
Member Brush?
Yes.
Member Hayes?
Yes.
Member Jonas?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes, unanimous on part 2. Part 3, the project meets requirements 165-95 Airport Development District. One item there. Motion on that one, Member Boucher?
Chair, I move the board finds that based on the findings made in parts 1 and 2 of this document, the project meets the requirements of Section 165-95B for uses within the Airport Development District, ADD.
Thank you. Member Jonas for the second. Thank you. Roll call vote on that. Member Boucher?
Yes.
Member Brush?
Yes.
Member Hayes?
Yes.
Member Jonas?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes, unanimous on part 3. Part 4, The project meets requirements of 165, 114 land development approval standards. Item 1, can I have a motion on item 1? Member Jonas.
I move the board finds that based on Exhibits 2, 21, and 23, the applicant satisfied Land Development Code Section 165-114B and C's requirements regarding the layout and safety of the proposed parking, loading, and access drives to public rights-of-way.
Thank you. Do I have a second on that one? Member Brush. And can roll call vote? Member Boucher?
Yes.
Member Brush?
Yes.
Member Hayes?
Yes.
Member Jonas?
Yes.
The chair votes yes, unanimous on item 1. Item 2, motion on that one. Member Brush?
Mr. Chair, I move the board finds that based on exhibits 2, 10 through 12, and 22, the applicant satisfied Land Development Code Section 165-114D's requirement that stormwater runoff from the proposed development will not have an unreasonable adverse effect on abutting or downstream properties or protected resources, and that all downstream channels or municipal stormwater collection systems have adequate capacity to carry the flow without significant negative effects.
Thank you. Do I have a second on that one? Member Boucher, thank you. Roll call vote. Member Boucher?
Yes.
Member Brush?
Yes.
Member Hayes?
Yes.
Member Jonas?
Yes.
The chair votes yes. Item 2 unanimous. Item 3, a motion on that one. Member Hayes?
I move the board finds that based on Exhibits 2 and 9, the applicant satisfied Land Development Code Section 165-114E's requirement that all outdoor lighting shall be designed, installed, and maintained to avoid unreasonable adverse effects from light pollution.
Thank you. A second on this one? Member Jonas, thank you. Roll call vote. Member Boucher?
Yes.
Member Brush?
Yes.
Member Jonas?
Yes.
Member Hayes?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. I was just making sure you
I know,
guys
I
were awake. 3 is unanimous. Item 4, can I have a motion on item 4?
Chair.
Member Boucher.
I move the board finds that based on exhibits 2, 8, and 21, the applicant satisfied Land Development Code Section 165-114F's requirements for providing proper screening between the development and the adjacent properties and right-of-way, preserving existing tree growth where possible and encouraging the use of native species.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Member
Second.
Jonas, thank you. Roll call vote. Member Boucher?
Yes.
Member Brush?
Yes.
Member Hayes?
Yes.
Member Jonas?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes, unanimous on item 4. Item 5, motion. Member Brush?
Mr. Chair, I move the board finds that based on exhibits 2, 10 through 16, and 22 through 25, the applicant satisfied Land Development Code Section 165-114J's requirement that the project meet the standards of 38 MRSA and Section 484 and the requirements of the Department of Environmental Protection Regulations, chapters 371 through 373 and 375 through 377 and 500.
Excellent, thank you. A second on this one. Member Boucher? And a roll call vote. Member Boucher?
Yes.
Member Brush?
Yes.
Member Hayes?
Yes.
Member Jonas?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes, unanimous on all items of Part 4. Could I get a motion on the decision itself? Member Brush?
Mr. Chair, I move the board finds that the project meets the requirements for a land development permit for a major site development and major site location of development modification, and therefore the board grants the land development permit for the proposed project.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Member Boucher? Thank you. Roll call vote. Member Boucher?
Yes.
Member Brush?
Yes.
Member Hayes?
Yes.
Member Jonas?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes, all items unanimous. The project is approved. Well said. Thank you, Randy. Appreciate you coming in and the project there. Okay, so that takes care of our permits for this evening. We do have some other business on the agenda this evening, fairly quick and easy, I think. Adoption of notices of decision, there are 2. The first one is 68 Hogan Road, QV Realty Trust. I would like a motion on approval of the adoption of notice for that item. Someone remember that project? You guys were all there for that one.
That was
That was,
the Verizon one?
the dealership,
Car
Oh,
dealership.
yes.
car dealership, I can't remember which.
Subaru. Subaru, Court Subaru.
Yeah.
Yes, Court, thank you, I was gonna say somebody else. I knew that would be improper. So where the Kmart used to be.
Yeah, I remember that. And the language that you'd like for this one, is it just, I can propose a motion and then tell me if it's
I
insufficient?
believe we would just say a motion to
making
adopt the notice of decision on 688 Hogan Road QB Realty Trust.
Chair, I move that we accept adoption of notice of decision for 688 Hogan Road. Is that fine?
QB Realty Trust.
Oh, QB Realty Trust.
Yep,
Is that how you want me to do
that's
it?
the owner.
Very good.
Thank you, do I have a second on that?
Second.
Member Brush, thank you, and a roll call vote. Member Boucher?
Yes.
Member Brush?
Yes.
Member Hayes?
Yes.
Member Jonas?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. So that one is approved. And the next one, in general, is called Tractor Supply Company. They're the owner, and it was at 1161 Broadway. And so we'd like a motion on the adoption of that notice of decision as well. Member Boucher?
I move that we accept adoption and notice of the decision for 1161 Broadway for Tractor Supply.
Thank you. Do I have a second on that one? Member Hayes, thank you.
Point of order, Chair.
Yes.
I was not in a role voting for this particular one. Am I allowed to vote now to approve this?
I believe so, right?
Were you in attendance for that?
Yes, ma'am.
She was there.
Then yes, you are good to vote.
Yeah, thank you. So yes.
Thank you.
A good question though. We have a motion, we have a second, and I'll do a roll call vote starting again. Member Boucher?
Yes.
Member Brush?
Yes.
Member Hayes? Yes. Member Jonas?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. So unanimous approval of 1161 Broadway Tractor Supply Company's notice of decision. Meeting minutes, we need to approve the meeting minutes or revise if there's any issues. This is the May 7th meeting. We skipped one meeting this past month. So I would need a motion on approval, or if you have any corrections on that meeting in the meeting minutes. Member Boucher.
Chair, I move that we accept the minutes as provided.
Thank you. And
I'll
Member Brush with a second. And roll call vote on that. Member Boucher?
Yes.
Member Brush?
Yes.
Member Hayes?
Yes.
Member Jonas?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes, so we've approved the meeting minutes as they are for the May 7th, 2024 meeting. So we are pretty much at the end of the meeting. I do want to just kind of update everyone. I don't know Don's situation, but I think he just had some vacation or time off or something tonight. And Mike Basnet, the same thing, I believe he's traveling. Member Saucier has resigned, and I think most of you kind of knew that that was either coming or was going to happen. He picked up a job offer down in Connecticut, which he shared with us openly. He then had a personal issue afterwards with his family, and I'm not gonna get into details because he hasn't said that I should. But it changed his situation a bit, and so he's kind of still in Maine dealing with that. And may actually choose to come back in some capacity, but I've left that up to him to decide if he wants to. But he, as of right now, has resigned from the board, and so we have 6 members and an alternate at this point. And so having anyone missing does affect us a little bit more. So certainly please, let us know if, as you have this evening, if you foresee that you're gonna be missing a meeting, because it gets us a little bit tighter in making a quorum. So I just wanted to update everyone on that. Does anyone have any questions or other issues or things they would like to bring up? Member Boucher?
Can we talk a little bit about what the Zoom requirements are? Because I do expect there's gonna be some time I might be away this summer, and it's just good to know if I'm eligible to join remote, or if there is some sort of requirements we gotta meet. I think the last time I asked this was you can't do it twice in a row, or something like that.
Okay.
But I just wanted to get some clarity around that.
Sure. I'll let city staff answer, but I believe that right now we still can attend by Zoom, board members can still attend by Zoom.
Yeah, you can attend by Zoom. I do, and I can't remember the number of times, I think it might be your second time or later, like if you think you're gonna have to keep attending via Zoom. Technically, you're supposed to get approval from the council chair, so that's the policy.
So try to keep it less, just to avoid the extra process hurdle, but if it is a requirement, we'll follow that. Cool.
I mean, my guess is, it seems pretty obvious, my guess is they just don't want people getting lazy and not showing up at the meeting and just doing it from home, which is a temptation, right?
Yeah.
And I think, if it starts happening regularly,
I just plan to be out of, I assume, I haven't looked at the calendar, but I assume there's gonna be some periods when I'm out of town.
thank you, appreciate it. And I mean, I would rather have you here by Zoom than not here at all, especially if we're in a pinch for members and trying to get to a quorum.
It'd be hard to recuse myself over Zoom, I'll have to like rejoin.
Get out of that room. Are you sure you've got it from that?
If it's helpful, I can send around the Zoom attendance policy.
Sure, if you think of it, that would probably be good, yeah.
Actually, I would appreciate that since I don't know it, didn't know it.
I think you said it to us at some point previously, I feel like I've seen it, but anyway,
I'll just do it again,
Yeah.
send it around again. Yep.
thank you. Yeah. Anyone else have any other comments or questions or issues that they want to bring up this evening? If not, I mean, I feel like we got through things pretty quickly tonight, I appreciate that. I feel bad about that one item that we didn't get to, but I'd rather do it right. So, yeah.
I think you guys are doing a great job with this longer, I mean, you're pros, you're getting great. I'm hoping this board stays this way for a while.
No one wants to drag this
Because,
out.
well, and, we've made the process a little longer to be more thorough and make sure that we're not opening ourselves up for appeals, which has made the meeting significantly longer, but you guys are doing a great job moving it along,
Yeah,
which
sure.
helps, so,
Yeah.
good job.
Thank
Keep
you,
doing it.
John, appreciate it.
If we're sharing compliments, I'd like to thank the staff as well for making the packets very coherent and very structured. And there's been, I think, an effort to really standardize it each time, and I think it shows, it's really nice.
Thanks.
It's a learning process, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been one, yeah.
If there's a possibility to improve somehow so that I don't have to go through all of those pages of calculations and pit testing when I'm in the meeting, so I can go straight from the drawings to the, to the actual
Instead of jumping to
standards.
the standards, you mean?
Right, because because in a case like this, I like to review the drawings on my screen because I can see it better. But then, I don't know how many pages there were about the pit, is it pit testing or whatever it was? And all those calculations for one of the other ones, it just took me a long time to get down to where the green stuff was.
Yeah, you can have my hard copy if you want.
I really don't want a hard copy, I really like the digital.
It's probably hard, I'm gonna speak up for you a
It's
little bit.
probably hard.
I suspect it's probably hard for you to do, because you've gotten really good at having a packet that's sort of a standard, with stuff in it in a certain order. But I will suggest,
But it could be a hyperlink.
you know what I do, is I print those standards, the green highlighted standards, separate. And then I have them right there, which you could probably do the same thing and then have your blueprints on your screen and have your standards separate. I find that easier. I didn't like doing it in the beginning. I used to do everything on my tablet, but I just found that just made life easier the way we're now living it, so.
If it would be helpful, though, we can put the findings at the beginning rather than the end of all the materials.
Well, that would be nice.
That would actually
You want
be
that?
really nice.
I mean, and if it has the list of the items, like you know how there's that list of item 1 through, 1, 2, 3, all these items when we're reading it, so that
The
glossary,
exhibits.
the exhibits, yeah, if the glossary of the exhibits is there with it, and the findings are there, and then everything below it, it actually even would, it would get us thinking, I find it would get us thinking, before we start reading the packet. Because what ends up happening sometimes is I'll read through the whole packet and I'll get to the language at the end and then it'll dawn on me that then I'll go back and read through that section again. If it seemed like it didn't answer that, or if my recollection wasn't there. So it'd be nice to just have it at the, especially for me, when I print it out, it's nice to just put it aside and then get it all jumbled together and spend the meeting ruffling through it here in front of all of you guys.
Yeah, I mean, we can try adding it at the beginning and maybe.
See what happens.
Kind of like you want the test questions first.
Yeah,
And then when you
test
read it,
questions
you can
first.
find the answers to the questions.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Try it. Please make sure to give her feedback when you get it that way to see if it's working better.
I think there are ways that you can hyperlink within a document too, so it's like, if you want, like, here's this item, and then here's the related documentation, it can move you back and forth, but it's a little tedious, I think.
Yeah, there's the staff time issue.
Yeah, exactly, it's a little tedious, and I tried to do it myself, but I wasn't able to modify the document because of the way we receive it electronically, so.
Yeah, and you're doing it every other week.
Yeah,
Every other
right,
week.
and it's 400 pages or 300 pages, yeah, I get it.
And if it's a problem for whatever reason, I can just do that. It dawns on me, I can just take those pages out and read them first. I don't have to read it in the order that it's written.
Well, yeah, but we can still try adding it first, and that might make more sense for people, so.
Does everybody know too about what do they call that, the labels on the right? Where you can get to stuff quickly?
Bookmarks,
The
maybe?
bookmarks,
I was
thank
gonna
you.
tell you, you can.
Does everyone know about the
pages.
bookmarks?
Yeah.
Can you,
List them all.
I mean, you should know about the bookmarks,
You have to bring this side open, yeah,
over here?
because that makes life easier to find stuff.
and then you can. find
Oh
it.
my goodness.
Yeah, I didn't wanna.
I had no
tell you.
idea. I don't use the
Yeah.
online version, I use the offline version
Yeah,
mostly.
play with that a little
They're so
bit.
big, I can't download them to use the
Even
offline
if you
version.
save it as a PDF, and for the static version, you can do it there.
Yeah, and it takes up some space on your screen, but that makes.
Oh, that doesn't, Jay, that take up no space on my screen. That's perfect. Oh, thank you.
Okay, yeah, that
You can
helps
make
you
it
get around
bigger
on
if you
that.
wanted, yeah.
And how many pages of testing? Oh, that's
Alright.
great. Perfect, thanks.
Yep. Any other questions or comments this evening? Okay, if not, we're adjourned. Thanks, everyone. Thank you.